I chose to do my theme on Earth Day, and the reason that I chose to do Earth Day was it's a chance for the kids to get to learn about something that's real. And I think it's super important for kids to be able to make that real life connection with things that they're learning. I think it's important for kids to know that what they're learning isn't for nothing. And with Earth Day, they get to learn about things like how to make the earth a better place to live and their environment a better place to live. um, I chose to do second grade, and at this point in the year, in second grade, most of their work is done independently. So, two of my lessons, the work will be done independent, and the third lesson is a little bit more guided, and there is some group work involved. Um, at this point in the year in second grade, it's almost like a turning point where the kids are going from learning to reading to learn. And what I mean by that is they're actually able to read through a book, understand and comprehend what they're reading, and pull out information from that book. Which leads me to my first lesson. And it's a literature lesson, and I will have an assortment of books all pertaining to Earth Day, how to keep our earth green, recycling, planting trees, all different books centered around Earth Day. And I will be assigning the students their books. And the reason I do this is because I want each student reading on their level. So I have harder books for the higher kids that are reading at a higher level. I have easier books for the EC students or the lower students. So they'll be given a book, they'll read through it, and then they'll fill out a Fantastic Facts worksheet. So they'll need to pull out 4 facts from the book that they've read. Once they've read through their book, I'll give them a scavenger hunt worksheet. And what they're hunting for are text features. And text features are super important in third grade because they are beginning to test. And text features are super important because they give them clues on how to answer questions that they're given. And text features can be things like photographs or bold words, maps or diagrams. So they're going to be hunting for these things in the book that I've assigned to them. For the lower kids, they'll be given an easier worksheet where they have to go through, fill out the title and the author of their book, and then just check what text features they find in their book. So along with the worksheet, the lower students will be given a guide on what text features to look for. So there's no confusion and there's no guesswork. They know what it is they're looking for. The higher students will be given a little bit harder worksheet where they actually have to go through, fill out the page number, what the text feature is, and how does it help you. So for this lesson, I would say 35, maybe 40 minutes. You don't want to go too long with a reading activity. So for my math activity, I have these task cards. I have 3 different sets of task cards. One is centered around Earth Day, one is questions on recycling, and one is questions on trees. Questions in these task cards are anything from telling time to learning or knowing place value, understanding place value, double-digit addition. They have to know their shapes. So these task cards aren't really, this lesson doesn't teach them anything new. It's more of a review and practice for them. So each set of task cards has 10 questions, and they'll be given an answer sheet, and the answer sheet correlates with the different sets of task cards, so there's no confusion about where to put their answers. So there's a total of 30 questions for the 3 sets of task cards, and for the lower kids, I would only expect them to do half. So have them do 15 questions instead of all 30, and they may need a little help reading through the question and understanding what the problem is. And if they need the help, that's okay. Read the problem for them and give them the support that they need. If you have early finishers, I have a subtraction coloring sheet that they can work on, and they can choose from the earth or the recycle symbol. And this is 2-digit subtraction, so again, it's nothing new, it's just a little bit more practice for them. So they'll fill out answer the questions, and then they'll get to go back through and color it. For this lesson, I would say, again, 30-35 minutes. You don't want to go any longer than that because you might lose them. So for my third lesson, it is a science lesson, and this is going to be a little bit more guided. And in this lesson, they're simulating an oil spill. And to get this lesson started, I would start by asking the class what they know about oil spills. Do they know what would happen if there's an oil spill? Have they ever heard of an oil spill? Just get them to thinking and their brain working on what is an oil spill. So after you've had your discussion and you feel like they're ready to move on, you're going to hand them their packet that goes along with the activity. And this packet is super good because it walks them through step by step of what they're supposed to do. Each kid will have a pond, each table will have a pond, and I recommend having the pond set up before the students get in the classroom. It's less chaotic and there's less chance of a spill or a mess if you set it up yourself. So to begin, the group of 3 or 4, whatever you choose to put at your table, will make observations about their pond. Let them stir around in it, feel the water, and then they're going to answer the questions on the first page. Does this look like a healthy environment for animals to live in? Have them draw a picture of their pond. So I would get them started, and then I would let them go. Because like I said, this packet is super good, and it walks them through step by step of what they're supposed to do. Let them go. Be there if they need to ask you a question. Just walk around the room and observe. Just listen to their conversation. So after they do their first observation of the pond, they're going to get their feather. Each student will be given a feather, and they're going to make observations on their feather, their dry feather. What does it look like? What does it feel like? After they've made that first set of observations, they're going to dip their feather into the water, swirl it around, let them do whatever they want to do. Then they're going to make observations on their feather after it's been dipped into the pond and jot that down. Then the packet tells them they're going to get their container labeled oil and pour it into their pond. And I would really stress for the students to look at the oil. Make good observations about this oil. Is the oil taking the shape of the container that it's in? Is it mixing with the water? Is it separating? Is it staying together? So after they've poured their oil in and they're making their new observations, have them draw a picture of their new pond. Answer the question, does this look like a healthy place for animals to live? Then they're going to go on to the next page where they're going to take their feather and they're going to dip it into the pond that now has oil in it. They're going to swirl it around and they're going to pull it out. And now the feather is going to be covered in oil. So they're going to make observations about what their feather looks like now. So then they're going to answer the question, what do you think would happen to birds or other living things in this pond? After they do that, they're going to brainstorm of ways to clean up an animal if this was to happen to them, if they were covered in oil. And then they'll do this as a group. So after they brainstorm on ideas of ways to clean up an animal covered in oil, they're actually going to get to experiment with cleaning up their feather. So first, they're going to try to clean their feather with just water. They're going to make observations on that and jot it down. And then they're going to have Dawn dish soap or whatever kind of dish soap you have. They're going to try to clean their feather with the dish soap and water. Make observations and write that down in their book. And then if time allows, there are 2 other pages where they can make ideas for preventing oil spills. They can brainstorm on ways to clean up an oil spill if that was to happen. So this is a good center because it's teaching the kids something real. Oil spills happen very frequently, so they get to learn about something that is very real. And this activity not only covers the science standards of properties of shape and solids and liquids taking the shape of the thing that they're in, and learning about ecosystems. But the kids also have to read through their packet and be able to answer the questions. And I would put a higher student at each table if you could. That way you know there's a student at that table that can read through the questions and understand the questions, be able to explain it to the group if that's necessary. This is a long lesson, so I would allow anywhere from 50 minutes to an hour because there are a lot of steps and there's a lot of stopping, making observations, and jotting them down. So I really like this Earth Day theme. Like I said earlier, it's teaching kids about something that's real. And kids are always super eager and willing to help if they have an opportunity to help. And with Earth Day, they get to learn of ways to help the earth, help their environment, to make their ecosystem a better place to live. So I hope that the kids love the theme of Earth Day as much as I did.